Get started. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Those who have attended, both customers and vendors and DAS employees. The setup in here, I'm going to apologize early on. I'm not used to having a setup where I'm here and then back here and then back here. So apologize for the look down and not the eye contact like I should be doing, but we'll get through it. I'm Joe Ceravalo, Vice President of Purchasing. Run the category management team, inventory management team. Also have our CE Specialty Retail Division, which is a separate division outside of the travel plaza industry. Outside of purchasing and working with our domestic partners, I'm also responsible for a lot of the consumer electronics and consumer electronics accessories that we do under our private label in product development overseas, working with factories or current partners that we have here in the United States. Today, want to take a, whoops, sorry. Wanted to take some time. This is not a session really that's focused around any necessarily particular product, but really a focus around what is happening in the market, what is happening around us today in technology, but more importantly, as someone like me, I look out 15 years from now, what do I see and what does the industry see? Where's technology headed? Why do we think the technology is headed that way? And to do that, I'm going to kind of paint the picture of broad stroke for you, but before we get started there, we're going to go ahead and fast forward 15 years, and we'll show you a little video clip, and then we'll go from there. Sorry for the jerkiness on the video. It must be their wireless connection streaming onto the TV, speaking about technology. So, pretty interesting concept, and a lot of people have had a lot of discussions with me about, Joe, you know, that's great, but that's, you know, whatever. Everybody can put that, something like that together and mock it up. The reality is this. The reality is the technology and the capabilities are out there. Think tanks across the country and across the globe have already developed the devices or the actual items to be able to create this type of environment that we're looking at. The big question is, and if you notice the whole theme throughout the whole thing, there's one thing that's tying that whole universe together, and that is the content. It's the pipe. We have all the technology, we have the capability to do it, so why isn't it here yet? Why aren't we seeing it in mass? Why isn't it being adopted by business, by hospitals in mass, and so on and so on? And the answer comes down to the pipe. To be able to get all that content and information onto the wall, onto the screen, through the doctor's office, and transmit it through, it requires a big pipe. Okay, so as I start to look at what's happening in the industry, specifically when it comes to the investments that are being made into the infrastructure, i.e. the wireless infrastructure, that's where we start to see the picture being painted more clearly, and we also see the software and chipset manufacturers really starting to focus on, okay, now when the pipe is ready, when can we start deploying the capability in that arena. I'll also address a lot of questions of, you know, that's great and it's the future and so on and so on, but I remind everybody on technology and where we're at today compared to where we were even, you know, 50 years ago. You know, I used the Captain Kirk example. When I was young growing up just 25 years ago, I was a Trekkie, and I loved watching Captain Kirk and Spock and traveling around, and I remember one time myself asking my father, hey, you know, Captain Kirk just hit his lapel and now he's talking to the Starship Enterprise off this planet he just visited. You think we'll ever be able to do that? And, you know, my dad laughed at me at the time and said, oh, that's crazy, it's science fiction, and so on and so on. But yet today, reality is I can take this device right here called the smartphone that's connected to a smart watch. I can speak a name in my watch and I can talk to someone over in China at one of the factories. So the reality is technology is fast moving, it's moving faster, and we'll speak to that more in a minute. Cost and economies of scale, another thing I like to use as an example to kind of point that out and where we're at today and where we were. Everyone's familiar with gift cards. You know, you go to Hallmark and you buy one of the gift cards and, you know, you open it up and it plays a song or whatever little theme. That little chipset that's in that card, that little software, that processor that's playing that music from that card, that thing has more power, processing power, than all the technology combined that we had during World War II. But yet today, we get the card, we listen to the music, and we throw it away. It's because the economies of scale on the software in that particular chipset over time has really gone down, and now it's become a disposable technology or chipset that's in the card. The other example I like to use is smartphone. Today, the smartphone, you know, fast forward back in the 60s, you know, we put a man on the moon at NASA. Okay, that's a big feat and a big accomplishment from our perspective. This smartphone today, here, is 10 times more powerful than all the technology and software processing power that NASA used to accomplish that feat of putting a man on the moon. So as we start to really get a scope and say, hey, how much have we progressed in the past 40 years? Or how much have we progressed in the past 50 years? It really starts to paint this picture of, oh my Lord, in my lifetime, not only have I seen all this, not only am I experiencing it, not only am I adopting it, my kids are adopting it, and so on, it's accelerating at a massive rate beyond anything that we've seen in the past. Is it real or is it Memorex? So what do we call this? You know, what guys like me who sit up at night and think about this stuff or go and visit these think tanks with a bunch of engineers, the term that you'll start to hear more and more often is a term that's been coined and really kind of adopted called augmented reality. Augmented reality as it pertains to technology, what it really means is how are we taking technology, even the intangible benefits of technology, and then how is that then enhancing our personal livelihoods, our well-being, making us more productive, making life easier, making it more information available at the tip of our fingers. So we'll get into that in more in a minute, but it all really again ties back to the pipe. The technology's here. It can be deployed overnight. You know, people are waiting to deploy these solutions into the open marketplace. The problem is the pipe needs to get larger and it needs to get faster to be able to deliver all this content and information to the things that are ready to be deployed. So as we start to look at that, and as I start to look at it and say, okay, you know, as I look at our investments, not only in private equity firms that are making investments into the bandwidth, but also looking at what our government is doing and how much is being allocated and also invested in private companies and mutual partnerships throughout the United States with Cisco and some of these other companies that we talk to frequently. It's projected right now, if we look out by 2017, the pipe, in other words, the speed in the pipe is going to be 4 times faster than what we're seeing today. We'll kind of back that technical jargon up and say, well, what does that mean and how does that benefit and how does that move us in towards more of this reality or this augmented reality that we're talking about. Investments in 2012 in the infrastructure totaled about $25 billion. Just in 2016, it's estimated that the total spend in the investment, ongoing investment, is going to total over $7 billion in investment into the infrastructure. The FCC passed a little thing that a lot of people didn't, in the open market, it doesn't matter to them, but they opened up the 500 megahertz spectrum. What does that mean? That means that opening the spectrum up even more, not only is it allowing the pipe to get faster, but it's also widening the pipe for more data to be transmitted out there in the open market. So kind of how do we tie that back? How, Joe, do you tie all these data and facts and everything? What's that mean for us? And so to give a couple of good examples of that, seamless HD video, so 1080 quality HD video to transmit that wirelessly or to get that seamless wireless takes over 2,000 exabytes. Okay, where we're at today to where it's projected at 2017. By 2017, it is estimated that the pipe will be carrying 11.2 exabytes total per month. Okay. What that then accomplishes is true HD capability in the streaming on the network. Then that opens opportunities beyond, and I'll relate it back to something we're all familiar with today, and then tie it back into some things that could be coming in the future. Imagine HD gaming, handheld, instead of the Xbox and my kids, you know, my daughter in her room and my son in his room, and they're talking on Xbox Live and they're playing a game. Now they're walking around, or if I'm driving down the road, each one of them have a smartphone, and now they're playing, you know, the games. They're competing with each other right now via the smartphone back and forth. And now this has become the TV, and this has now become the gaming solution that's out there that they're enjoying. All of this can't happen until the pipe gets faster and gets larger. If we look at the growth in the data and say, okay, well, that's all great, and it looks great that we're making all these investments, and you know, is this truly a situation where, hey, you build it and they will come? And the answer is absolutely. The American consumer, the global consumer in general, is adopting this technology, smartphone, and content, and using the technology much faster and much quicker than we all anticipated even 10 years ago. If we look at what the activity is, where, you know, we fast forward about 15 to 20 years ago, this was a phone. I mean, we used this to talk to people. It displaced our home phones. It's a way for us to communicate both verbally and in writing back and forth to each other. That transformation has come full tilt. Now it's not necessarily the primary use that we're using this thing today. As you can see, you know, the top 3 here is internet and searching for content and information, social media, which is still communication, but social media and linking up and developing more relationships with a wider network of friends and partners or business relationships, and music being content and entertainment. So the device itself is starting to be overpowered and less about communication and more about entertainment and enhancing our lifestyle as we interact with the smartphone. One little quick data point here is, if we look at 2013, as of 2013, out of the 10 million views, out of all the views on the internet, 94.6% of those views are no longer the desktop, no longer the laptop. It's coming from smartphones. People are using the smartphone to get on the internet more and more and more.
Does that include iPads and things like that too?
Correct.
As part of the
mobile devices, yep. If we look at the adoption and acceleration of this technology in the smartphone, tremendous in February, and if we go back to 2012, from 2011 to 2012, 50% of American adults already had one. That was a 36% increase year over year from prior year. That's a massive acceleration adoption of a new technology in the market. And then the continued growth continues as it starts to mature, another 24% year over year as we went into 2014. So again, more and more are going this route. The carriers are driving more and more people to the smartphone platform. Why do they want to do that? One, they want to get everyone on it. They want everyone to accelerate the technology so they can start to increase their revenue streams back up when it comes to data usage and usage of the pipe that they're going to deliver to get that $75 billion investment back that they're making right now. Again, I always like to put it in perspective of what we know. If we go back in time and look at different technologies or revolutions that happened with technologies out and that impacted our lifestyle, when radio was first launched, basically, and this is in years, so basically how many years? It took 38 years for the technology to be adopted by the mass marketplace. TV, it took 13 years for the market to adopt this technology. And go on, you can read these stats, but basically an app today launched on a smartphone platform is adopted in 50 days. So new technologies that have been deployed in the past and this acceleration curve that I'm speaking about and how quickly the American consumer is now adopting technology is much more rapid than we've ever seen it in the past. A lot of statistics here, but what's that mean for us? What it means for us is there's a lot of wireless accessories that go along with this. All these things that we've been talking about and all this capability requires more power consumption, more capability of powering the devices that we're going to be using. So it's projected in 2015 that the wireless accessory category will exceed 50 billion. That's huge, and we've been experiencing huge growth as we've been seeing the smartphone capability being adopted in mass market and also in the travel plaza industry with more and more of the pro drivers going there. Tablets will continue to fuel. Tablets now are pretty much the primary purchase outside of laptops. Someone said, hey, laptops will eventually go away. The answer is no, not really. It'll just transform into something else. But now tablets have been the primary source for people who want to get a portable device, primarily going back to those statistics I was showing you about internet, and they want communication, social media. Tablets have that capability and give it to them. It's less about data crunching and analysis and more about how am I entertaining myself while I'm on the road or on the go. Interesting statistic, and this blew everyone's mind in the CE industry. If we look at the United States in 2014, and we look at the number of minutes basically on average that the consumer is watching, the smartphone now, from a TV capability or video capability, the smartphone now has surpassed the TV. So more people are actually watching more video and more movies through a smartphone than they are in their house watching on a TV or somewhere else watching on a TV. So again, speaking to this mass acceleration, speaking to this mass adoption of technology, speaking to the power of the smartphone and what it's delivering to us, is very impactful as we go forward and we plan for opportunities, especially when it comes to accessories or other types of things in the market. The other common thread in how it means or what it means to us and the way we look at the business or product opportunities or things that we bring to market, there's one common theme throughout the whole thing. All these consumer electronic devices that we've had in the past or consumer electronics things that we've had in the past weren't connected. So you're starting to see the evolution and adoption of everyone on the product roadmaps, starting towards this natural theme of everything being connected. How do we get it connected to the pipe? Whether that's directly to the pipe or whether that's connecting to something that is on the pipe. So my friend Plantronics is in here today. Now I'm sure he can tell you that, hey, you know, now we have the capability. In the past, we just sold a Bluetooth headset, and we had to carry 50 SKUs for 50 different countries across the world, because each one of them would talk to you, and then, you know, we had to change the software and the language. Where today, they produce one. They connect it to the pipe, i.e. the internet, and the customer can go on the internet. They can customize exactly what they want their unit to do, i.e. speak the language they want to speak. If it's Spanish, or if it's United States, if it's German, whatever it is, it downloads to the unit, the software gets updated, and now the customer has now taken a normal consumer electronics device that they would buy in the past, and they've customized it to make their lifestyle easier. So people say, hey, you know, Joe, this is great for the future, and what I always tie back into, we're so busy and we're so fast moving, this adoption and this technology impact is happening in front of our eyes now. We just don't necessarily know it. We're moving so fast that it's happening, and we're getting the benefit and the experience, and we're experiencing it, but we just don't know it yet. So, augmented reality. What are some things that are going to be in that world, and you know, and some things that I talk about with some of the technology gurus that are out there. So envision, an example I use is, you know, we live near Gettysburg Civil War battlefield. Okay, today I can go to Gettysburg, I can get a CD, they have a road tour, a little map, you put the CD in, you go to this section of the battlefield and you play the CD, and it narrates, hey, on to your left is where Lee was, and on to the right is over here, and audio is telling me exactly what happened in a point of history on that field. Okay, augmented reality would be, okay, now how are we taking that and how are we using technology to change reality in front of our own eyes? Okay, imagine now, fast forward, go to Gettysburg, you show up, you got your CD, you're sitting there and you parked and you get ready to play it. But instead of just the CD, you've popped contact lenses in your eyeballs, and now as it's narrating, you're actually physically seeing the battle happen in front of you, real life on the battlefield. That's augmented reality. Some say, hey, Joe, that's great, but that technology doesn't exist. Actually, it is. It does exist. Our Navy SEALs team out there uses this technology all the time. An example of that was the movie that they just released with you know, the capture and kill of Obama, and as they're going in, and you know, your first-person view on the screen, and you're watching the SEALs attack, and they're coming in, and all you see is a heads-up display, a hood. Basically, that heads-up display, basically, as they're looking at faces and individuals and walking into rooms, it's automatically popping up and telling them, well, it's a hostile person from a database that they've already identified as a terrorist. Okay, that's real. That's what they're using, and that's what's helping them from a defense standpoint or a protection standpoint. Will it become mass? Absolutely. But again, another example of augmented reality and how it changes their lifestyle. Another example I'll use with things that are much closer than further out 10 years from now. Imagine going to New York City, and you're visiting New York City and you want to go to a restaurant, and you want to know what the restaurant is, or you want to know, or I'll take it back, throw the restaurant out, and, hey, I'm new and I'm moving to New York City, and I want to know, hey, what's the apartments look like? I like this location, here's the skyscraper, I wonder how many apartments are up there. You know, you take your smartphone, you pull it up, you put it up in front of the thing, and there in front of you, it then repaints the picture and shows you all the apartments available in that building, what the rent is on those apartments, what's your term, all the information you would need to make a contact. And if you're interested, and say, hey, well, that looks like a good, you know, I want to live on the 5th floor, I want to live up there on the 15th floor, you can hit the button and it actually implodes out and shows you what the apartment looks like inside. So again, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. For like the Gettysburg type thing, is that gonna be some Hollywood participation where they're creating, or is this all CGI graphics, or who's gonna develop that scene and designate that so-and-so is gonna shoot a gun right there? Like,
Yeah, so content makers.
yeah,
So
that's a whole other industry then. Little,
it's the industry in its entirety. So the augmented reality is what I would refer to as one of those. From time to time in consumer electronics, we go through what's called, what I refer to as a revolution. Okay, so for example, a couple of those, to give you an example, would be, we used to have 8-track tapes. Went from 8-track tapes to cassette tapes. Okay, guess what? That fueled an entire industry of multiple different subcategories out there. Went from tapes to CD. Now it imploded across the board in all other type of categories. Okay, the difference with this here is not only are we now talking about devices, but we're talking exactly what you're talking about. We're talking about the intangible services and things that are out there. Data mining companies that are formulating this content and the content to be delivered. So entire new industries are going to be coming out of this whole opportunity of what is augmented reality and how are we delivering that to the general mass. So with that being said, I'll give you one more example that is going in that direction. And as we look at this, for a while now, wireless charging capability has been out there. The technology has been out there called inductive charging, magnetic inductive charging. And a company hit the market not too long ago, about 2 years ago, called PowerMat. They made a big promise to a lot of people of, hey, take your mobile device, here's a tablet or a mat, come in and lay the device on it and it'll wirelessly charge your device. Well, that was half right. Okay, the technology was right, and it's the same technology. The inductive charging is what we've been watching for the past 5 or 6 years. The difference was it wasn't 100% seamless. It wasn't true necessarily. Yeah, it will charge it, but before you do that, here's your phone, and you have to buy this case from us, and this case has the technology on it. You have to put that on, and then put it on there if you had an iPhone. Oh, I'm sorry, if you have a Samsung, yeah, we don't make a case for that. You have to get this puck with a cord, plug the cord in, put the puck on, and then it'll charge your phone. Okay, so it really wasn't seamless. It was wireless charging, and it was the inductive charging technology. The CE industry and CEA basically said, just like we did with Bluetooth, just like we did with many other technologies, we need to create a standard, and this needs to be seamless and easy for the consumer. So inductive charging standards have been set, and the award for the chipset and software side has been awarded to Texas Instruments, to TI. The new standard is the QI format, or if you hear the buzzwords, wireless charging 2.0, and so on and so on. So why is it relevant, and when is it going to be important to us? Okay, and why is it going to be important to us? It won't get important to us until the OEMs start adopting the technology. So what does that mean? Today, this is a QI chip. So this is the technology. This is what they have. This is the solution that's in the market today. This is specifically designed because it has the battery contacts for the layout specifically of the Samsung Note 3. Okay, so in essence, I can put this, put it inside my phone, put the cover back on it, get a QI pad, put it on, and it wirelessly charges. Now, where is it relevant to mass? The OEMs will adopt this technology, Samsung, Apple, so on and so on. They'll start integrating this technology onto the batteries at factory level. So now as a consumer, you're going and buying a smartphone. When you buy your smartphone, not only is it going to have Bluetooth technology on it, not only is it going to have all these other technologies on it, it'll have QI technology on it. Now, to widen your opportunity there on what we're looking at, for example, with that. Okay, what does that mean? Well, maybe it means that we're partnering with our friends in Bracketron, integrating QI technology on bracketing solutions. So now if you're in your car and you put the phone onto a bracket, it's charging. Maybe we're doing it on our own and we start to integrate, hey, battery backup and power solutions. We integrate the chipset into a shirt. So now I have a Dickies shirt and I throw my phone in my shirt, and while I'm carrying my phone around, it's charging the phone while it's on my body.
How far away are we from literally infinite charging, where just moving the phone or sunlight or whatever charges things literally around the clock.
You know, that would be possibly solar, but I don't think it'll ever be, I don't think we'll ever get there. I don't think solar will be, or be able to deliver the capacity needed for the current draw of the devices. Now, I could be wrong. Somebody else could be talking to you 50 years from now and say, hey, this is what we got today. But what we do know over the next 20 years is this is the direction we're headed. How the technology is not only being implemented or deployed at OEM level, the technology is also being implemented at, right now, already at B2B level. So now I'll think out of the box even beyond that and say, okay, now I'm a bar or I'm a bar owner. Hey, I can come in and outfit your entire bar with QI technology. So now your customers come in and they're having a drink, they put their phone on top of the bar and it charges their phone for them. The possibilities are mass out there as it pertains to totally new categories and totally new opportunities for us to engage and do it. Nokia has adopted and made the decision in Europe, so they're starting to roll the technology in their handsets at OEM level in Europe. I imagine the rest of the OEMs probably in the next 12 months to 15 months will start to make announcements and deploy the technology on there. Latest rumor as of last week is Apple's iPhone 6 may include QI functionality and technology onto the platform. So just as we talked about other things in the past and mass adoption and speed of adoption, when this happens, it's going to happen rapidly and very quickly in the adoption. So my commitment to you and DAS's commitment to you as we continue to look at all these opportunities is we're in the works now already, pre-planning and pre-developing and pre-thinking about how are we going to engage this, how are we going to bring solutions to you so you'll be first to market and be able to adopt it just as quickly and just as rapidly as your customers are adopting it in the marketplace. With that, I'm going to take a step back and open it up for any questions anyone may have.
You said something, 75 billion. How long did you say it was going to take for them to recoup the investment of developing this larger data? You know, on average, the spend is 75 billion, at least 75 billion a year in 2017 is what they're looking at. Is every year it's increasing and they're investing more and more and more in the build out, well, not only on the back end but the infrastructure itself, transmission towers and so on and so on. You know, if the adoption, there's a lot of variables to that question. If the adoption happens as rapidly as I think, the carriers will recoup their investments within less than 5 years.
Hey Joe, in the growth percentages that you talked about with people, you know, adopting the new technology and 24%, I think, year over year. Well, what is the demographics on that? Is there a certain breakdown of age or male, female, or?
Great question. 2 years ago, the demographics in the U.S. I'll speak U.S. Okay, because European market totally different. You know, new technology hits, it doesn't matter demographic, old, young, middle age, they adopt it, they go back. In the U.S., about 3 years ago, you know, it was predominantly younger demographic, under 30, both male and female. A year and a half ago, that tilted up and that age limit went all the way up to 50. As we look at 2014, now it's creeped up and it's gone all the way to 70. To give you an example, and that's twofold. There's two reasons for it, okay? And to give you a personal example, my loving grandmother now has a smartphone, you know, and she has been taught how to text me and say hi to me while I'm in China and everywhere else in the world. But more importantly, what's driven that is not necessarily the consumer adoption or consumer demand. It's the earlier comment I made, and that's the carriers. The carriers are forcing everyone into the smartphone platform. How are they doing that? They're doing that by basically saying, we're not going to offer you any more phones that are not a smartphone. So if you come to us and you want to replace your old phone, it's going to be a smartphone. So they're pretty much, you know, driving the boat when it comes to making sure that everyone is getting onto the platform as they go forward and they increase their investments on the pipe. That within itself is driving that number higher than my opinion around is my grandmother out there actively shopping for a smartphone? The answer is no. When we went, there wasn't anything other than a smartphone for her to get. So that's the reality. That's what happened. A great question.
So for truck stops, Joe, in the future, there's been talk potentially like automobile dealers or manufacturers may have this QI or IQ, whatever you're talking about, charging, so it replaces a 12 volt, as an example. So you put your phone in your car and it starts charging. So should retailers now, even though it may be in the future, start beginning to think what that would do to their store, to their restaurant, to the store? You referenced the bar as an example, but should truck stops begin to think like that?
Oh,
Could there come a day
absolutely.
where, a guy, for lack of a better word, is taking a shower, and then you have the shower, whatever, he puts his phone in, it's charging, and should they start considering things such as that?
I would definitely say at this particular point, be aware. Have it in the back of your mind of, hey, as the economies of scale and the costs of this technology come down within the next 5 years, should I be maybe investigating, or maybe it's DAS bringing a package or a program or a service offering to bear to say, hey, here's a solution and here's a partner, i.e. service partner, that we can connect you up with if you're interested in, hey, by the way, if you have a lounge area and you want to integrate QI charging capability into the tabletops, here's someone that we would recommend or prefer partner. What the snapshot I'm giving you guys right now is that snapshot. We're very, very early not even in the early adopter stage. It's pre-adoption by OEM level, but it's the point of the whole discussion is to make sure you guys understand that we understand what's going on, and we're ahead of it, and we're going to commit to give those type of options. And yeah, the world will definitely change, not only in what we're used to in our own personal lives, but even how we interact, even in our facilities and the plazas and so on and so on and so on. Yes. Yep.
Is that video that you showed at the beginning, is that available on YouTube? Or?
Yes. Yes. The video is Corning is the company that basically produced that video, that basically shows their capabilities of the technology that they have today. There's actually 2 companies that have been working really in the past 8 years with the government to produce technologies like you're seeing, that are now proactively trying to promote and build out and prepare everyone for this augmented reality concept. But yes, you can go out there, and they have 2 video releases that they did, and the one is the one I just showed you. Yeah.
Your slideshow, is that available on your site or however?
Yeah, I can make it available.
Facts.
Yeah, I can make it available with you guys. Yep, no problem. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for coming, and appreciate the opportunity.